And speaking of January 6th, as I mentioned, committee's gotten their hands on all kinds of new events, new communications, new text messages, new call logs, and they recently got information from Ali Alexander himself, the man who's a founder of Stop the Steal, helped organize this rally. You know, this was partially at least his brainchild. And Ali Alexander has revealed to the committee that, yeah, I had communications with several Republican representatives who some of them now say like, oh, I don't remember ever talking to this guy. But Alexander absolutely turned this information over to the committee and said, here it is. I talked to these people. And the people, of course, were Representative Paul Gosar, a text exchange with Representative Mo Brooks, and also Andy Biggs of Arizona, although he says he did not actually talk to him on the phone. That was more of an in-person thing. Pretty interesting, right? So how do we know Ali Alexander has given the committee everything he has? Well, because that is actually what Alexander is charging in a new lawsuit. Because the committee still says, we want your records. We want all your records. You've given us a lot, right? You know, we asked for these things. You've given us these things. But based on what you've given us, this is kind of indicative that you were talking to people, and so we need to make sure that you're not holding anything back. So Alexander has sued the committee to stop Verizon, his phone carrier, from turning over the rest of his records. Unfortunately, purely legally speaking here, I'm not, determining Alexander's guilt or innocence in any way, but I will say, having worked with the best lawyers in this country for almost 2 decades now, the argument that Alexander is putting forth to protect his phone records is about as weak as humanly possible. Alexander is arguing in his lawsuit that you cannot have all my phone records because it contains privileged information. You know, my conversations with religious leaders, my religious advice to other people, talks with my clients, talks with my lawyers. You can't have that call log information or those communications because that's privileged. That's not going to stand up, dude. That's a very, very weak legal argument, and one that court case after court case has shown us doesn't hold up anyway. This is not to release it to the public, right? If it were being released to the public, sure, you'd probably have an argument there. But this is for an investigation, for investigatory purposes, and yeah, you can absolutely be compelled to turn over that information. You know, you have very little protection at that point. Maybe your communications with your lawyers could not be turned over, but everything else, absolutely not. Like you're gonna have to turn that over. You can't fight that. Very, very weak legal argument here. Let me read this from Politico. Per Alexander's attorneys, Jonathan Mosley and Paul Kamenar, members of Congress have been on an organizing call with him in early January. Several were invited, but he did not make attendance, the lawyer says. They also said Alexander, quote, testified he had phone conversations with Representative Brooks' staff about a Dear Colleague letter and how his activists could be helpful. Alexander said in a since-deleted video that he worked with Gosar, Biggs, and Brooks to attempt to use Congress's January 6th session certifying Biden's victory as a chance to pressure lawmakers to overturn the electoral results. We four schemed up to put maximum pressure on Congress while they were voting, Alexander said in the video. Biggs and Brooks have denied meeting Alexander. Gosar has appeared at events with him, but has not elaborated on their relationship. So knowing that, okay, and of course the quote from that now deleted video, do you think Alexander should have to turn over his entire phone records? Is he being honest that, look, this is all I have. I don't want to give you the rest of this because, this is privileged stuff. Or is there more that we don't know about? How much can we trust Ali Alexander? Now, of course, that's a subjective thing. If it were me, just personal opinion here, I don't think I would trust him. I'm not on the committee. I'm not a lawyer. I don't get to make that determination. All I can have is my personal opinion of him, which I just gave you. So the committee has a decision to make. Do they just say, all right, Ollie, if you're going to sue us, we don't want to get involved in that. Whatever, you've been a cooperative person. Thank you very much. We've got what we need for now. We'll contact you if we need more. Or do they fight it and say, oh no, we think you've got something to hide? Who knows where it goes from here? But honestly, and this is something I was saying since the early days of this committee, Alexander should have been the very first person they ever asked for material from. I mean, like I said, he was the brainchild of Stop the Steal. Why was he not the first? If your goal was to find out what happened that day, why was the organizer of the rally not the first person you subpoenaed? To me, that makes the committee look bad. That makes it look like they were on some kind of political hunt to go after other people first. I mean, why was Steve Bannon subpoenaed before the guy that organized the rally? That doesn't make sense to me. And just to play devil's advocate for a moment, if I were Alexander, that is something I would bring up in that lawsuit. So just throwing that out there. But either way, if he has more information, he should be compelled to turn it over. If it's determined that he is being honest, then okay, he shouldn't have to turn anything else over. He is one of the few people, let's be honest, that's actually agreed to go and cooperate with this committee because he says, I don't want to get involved in all this other stuff and challenging it and sue it, blah, 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 blah. So, look, he knows he has everything to lose from not cooperating with this committee, so maybe you do trust him. Maybe you don't. It's not my determination to make because I'm not sitting on this committee, but I will say this in closing here. I think the committee has their work cut out for them to the point where it's time to appoint a special prosecutor to really take over this because I don't think the committee is equipped to keep doing this on their own. We got a wonderful bonus show coming up for you. We've got more talk about COVID. A Republican lawmaker's passed away. We've got Donald Trump and Bill O'Reilly's rally. And I'm Farron Cousins. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I will see you tomorrow and for the rest of the week right here on The David Pakman Show.